Hey everyone, you're watching Tamit Saleh's Tennis Forum, and wow, I mean, what did we just witness? An amazing performance, an amazing match between Novak Djokovic and Rafa Nadal. Novak Djokovic has beaten, yes, beaten Rafael Nadal on clay, on Philippe Chatrier at the French Open semi-finals. Who would have thought it? I mean, I gave Novak a 25% chance beginning of the match, but he just played, I mean, his own words, he believes this was his best ever performance on clay and one of his top three best ever performances. It was definitely one of the best ever matches I've seen. Definitely right up there as one of the best ever four-set matches. And, over 4 hours, unbelievable. Really, it's hard to put it into context what he has achieved here. Rafa Nadal's record on clay for me is the greatest ever achievement in any sport. And I made that video when he had 12. He has 13 now. So defeating Rafa Nadal on clay, only two other guys had done it before, and it was himself back in 2015 and Robin Soderling. So Novak Djokovic actually becomes the first ever person to defeat Rafa Nadal at the French Open twice. He also becomes the first ever person to defeat Rafa Nadal at the French Open after losing the first set. And he also becomes the first ever person to defeat Rafa Nadal once he has reached the semi-finals. Rafa Nadal entered this match at 26-0 once he's reached the French Open semi-finals. He was, of course, going for that 21st Grand Slam title, which would have made him the outright leader in the whole Grand Slam race. That would be the first ever time that he has been the outright leader. He's, of course, tied right now on 20 with Roger Federer. He'll have to wait for further opportunities to try and break that. And Novak Djokovic has given himself a absolutely golden opportunity here to win Grand Slam number 19. Wimbledon's only 2 weeks away. He could even catch up to 20, and what a scenario that would be going into the US Open if they were all 20-20-20. Of course, Novak Djokovic still has Stefanos Tsitsipas in the final, and we're going to touch on that match. We're going to analyze the Rafa Nadal Novak Djokovic semi-final briefly, the other one as well. So yeah, before we begin, as always, if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe, and let's try and aim for 150 thumbs up in this video. So the match between Rafa Nadal and Novak Djokovic, he started off. Novak had break points in the opening game. He then had game points, however, lost both games. So he was 2-love down when he could have been 2-love up. Before you know it, it's 5-love to Rafa Nadal in the first set. And I was getting some serious deja vu from last year's final. Of course, Rafa Nadal won the first set of last year's final 6-love, 6-0. So I was thinking, here we go again. But and for me, this was the most important three games of the entire match for Novak here. 5-love down, really. They played a great point at 5-love, and Rafa Nadal went 15-love up, or love 15. But then Novak managed to hold, and this is something he did not do in the final last year. He held, and then he got a break back. 5-2, still no alarm bells ringing for Rafa, still the clear favourite. And then he held again to make it 5-3. So he had a run of 3 games there. And then Rafa did close it up at 6-3. But for me, that was what gave Novak the confidence. And also that it's not going to be a repeat of last year himself. He's come out afterwards and said that even though the scorelines may have been similar, he felt a bit different this time. He wasn't nervous. He felt like he was playing well. And for him, it was just a matter of time until he found his mojo and, just working himself into the match. And boy, did he work himself into the match from there on in. The second set, Novak got the early break. Then Rafa broke straight back. Then Novak got the break again. It was just very topsy-turvy, but Novak came out on top 6-3. So it was 3-6, 6-3. And going into the third set, the difference between this match and, for instance, Rafa's match against Diego Schwartzman in the previous round was you always felt with Schwartzman that he would not be able to maintain this level for too long and that Rafa would pick things up. Novak, on the other hand, got the better serve, just a better player than Schwartzman in general. You always felt that he could maintain this level. Of course, Rafa, even at 1-12, still by far the favourite. But it was definitely a contest going to the third set. Novak served for the third set, by the way, at 5-4. and he was 30 love up as well. I remember watching it with one of my friends, and I was saying at that point, if Novak loses this game at 5-all, potentially this could be the reason why he loses the entire match. And he ended up losing that game. He could not serve it out. Went to 5-all. Rafa then went 6-5 up, and then Novak had to face set points on his own serve at 6-5. And you felt that if Rafa won the third set, that he would then go on and win. I always felt that that third set was crucial, as it turned out to be, but it was more crucial for Novak to win than Rafa to win that. We went to the tiebreak. Rafa, now I don't know exactly which point it was, but it was a very easy volley at the net that it was an unforced error. He missed it completely. Novak ended up winning the third set, and at that point it was really, match blown wide open. First time Rafa had lost two sets, I believe, since losing two somehow against John Isner a few years ago, and also it was giving me a bit of deja vu of the 2013 semi-final between the pair. At this point, I thought, the crowd are going to have to go. It was very close to 11 p.m. at that time, and can you imagine how catastrophic things would have been had the crowd had to leave at that point, which was, because of the curfew at 11 p.m. And imagine at that point that the match turned around. It would have just been a shambles. Luckily, they made a special exception for this match, and the curfew rule was broken, and they said you can watch the entirety of the match, which I think was fair, and the only real, let's say, decision or result that could have been taken. It had to be, and for me as well, it was only because it was Rafa Nadal versus Novak Djokovic at such a crucial point, not just for this match, but for the history of tennis. And I always say the reason why matches between the big three, especially in Grand Slams, are so important. It's not because it's just not one match. History is on the line here. Like, for instance, in the final, Novak Djokovic versus Tsitsipas, probably a bad example. Let's use the other semi-finals, Zverev versus Tsitsipas. It was really just that one match. It was important, but it was one match. It wasn't something historical. Whereas this match here, or anytime the big three face, it's history on the line, because 2018 and all these other records they have and their head-to-heads and everything like that, it's just, history was on the line, and French Open made the right call. They let the crowd stay. Amazing. I really enjoyed that. Well done to the French Open for making that decision. Fourth set, and you're thinking, Novak's got let's say, the momentum with him. Straight away, Rafa comes and breaks, and you're thinking, wow. And then Rafa could potentially swing the momentum, let's say. He then held serve to make it 2-love to Rafa. For me, it wasn't a case of, I didn't think Rafa was going to run away with the match then. I think watching Novak versus Rafa as many times as I have, a break of serve really means very little, especially at the beginning parts of the set. They always break each other's serve. Neither has, let's say, killer serves like a John Isner or a Berrettini even for that case, but they're also fantastic returners. And once it gets into a rally, it's really a toss-up. So even at 2-love, by no means the set was over. But the Novak, he won 6 games in a row. Not many times in his career, Rafa Nadal has lost 6 games in a row at Philippe Chatrier. So that capped off Novak Djokovic's second ever victory against Rafa on the French Open tournament. And I mean, look, you just need to go on Twitter, you just see what the fellow tennis stars are saying, what the community is saying in general. Definitely right up there in terms of quality. Personally, one of the best ever matches I've seen as well. And definitely a deserved victory for Novak Djokovic. I think no one's really arguing that. He was definitely the better player on the day. And Rafa has come out and said the same as well. And what I really liked was the little press conference, or the one they have on the court after the match. I think Novak, he was very humble in his victory, saying that Rafa is his biggest rival, and for him it's an honor or a privilege to play against Rafa at the French Open. And for me, that is very telling. Bearing in mind, Novak has lost to Rafa in this court 7 times. He's only beaten him once before. I've seen it, especially with not the next gen, but the mid gen. So your Dimitrovs and your Nishikoris and your Raonic. They have such bad head-to-heads against the big three, whenever they go into that match, they've lost before a shot has even been played because of that head to head. Novak has a very similar head to head against Rafa at the French Open, 7-1. And for him to say that it was a privilege to play and something he looks forward to, it just shows the mental difference he has compared to some of the other players. Other players who shy away, they may not want this matchup, they'd be worried, they'd be mentally, and bearing in mind, it's not even last year, around 8 months ago, Novak got one of his worst beatings from this very same player at this very same court. And that, for me, that just shows the greatness of Novak Djokovic on the mental side. One thing to note, the crowd, amazing crowd. There was a lot of Serbians in the crowd, so it wasn't like a Wimbledon 2019 where the crowd was clearly rooting for Roger there. I think the crowd was more balanced between the pair here. Novak coming out and saying that he loved the crowd, electrifying, and very happy that they were allowed to stay to watch the conclusion of the match. Another thing was between the pair, of course, the head-to-head now is 30-28 to Novak. By no means, I think that's a done deal. That could still swing. 50 of the 57 previous meetings, the player who's won the first set has gone on to win the match. So that's another thing. Novak rewrote the script. Is Rafa finished now? As tennis fans, we have this thing called recency bias, where when one of the big three loses, it's over, it's finished, retirement, all that sort of things, only to be left eating our own words. So I think by no means Rafa is finished. I definitely think he will win another French Open at least. Outside of the French, it will be tough. I think US Open, of course, is his best shot. So by no means I believe Rafa is done winning majors, especially the French Open. I think he's definitely got another one, potentially two more. But wow, will this do a world of confidence for Novak Djokovic? Beating Rafa at the French Open. This whole tournament, he's looked like a man on a mission. He started in Rome. He lost the final to Rafa, but he did win a set. And I feel like that match was crucial that they played that match. Otherwise, Novak would have gone into this match knowing his last match / last clay match was that beatdown earlier on. So I think it was important for him to play one. Then, of course, he won Belgrade, but he didn't play anyone difficult, let's say, not to be disrespectful. But it was telling the presentation ceremony, the little speech he gave about, let's go and win that Roland Garros title. I mean, bearing in mind the beatdown he took, for him to have that confidence and that desire. He didn't do well in Monte Carlo, so and Belgrade won. So for him to have that desire, it was very telling. Throughout the French Open, the celebrations against Berrettini, he was pumped. He was very happy to have another shot at Rafa again. So kudos to Novak, amazing performance, but the trophy is not his yet. He's got Stefanos Tsitsipas waiting for him in the final. Tsitsipas against Zverev, 5-setter, and not that much shorter than Rafa and Novak's 4-setter. It was 3 hours 36 minutes. Rafa and Novak played for 4 hours 11, so about half an hour shorter. Nothing really. If you look at on-court time, Novak Djokovic has spent about 1,000 minutes on court. This Tsitsipas has spent about 900, so it's only 100 minutes. If you break that down, it's about 15 minutes a match, roughly. Really not much there. And personally, if one of them is going to get fatigued in the final, I would say it's Tsitsipas. Of course, they played in last year's semi-final. Novak won the first 2 sets. Tsitsipas really out of nowhere won the third, won the fourth, took it to a fifth, but then completely gassed out in the fifth, lost all his energy. So if something like this were to happen, were it to be a long match, let's see if Tsitsipas has made the necessary fitness adjustments. He did beat Rafa in a 5-setter in the Australian Open earlier this year. He was 2 sets to love down because Rafa came back. So he's definitely got the potential to go long, but let's see. Against Zverev, he was 2 sets to love up, really cruising. Zverev then won the next 2 sets, and you're thinking, is he going to do it again? Bearing in mind his last semi-final, which was at the US Open, he was 2 sets to love down against Carreno Busta. He ended up winning in 5. Once again, 2 sets to love down, takes it to a 5th set, had opportunities at love. 0-0, I believe it was love 43 break points, couldn't take them, and then he ended up running out of steam, really. Tsitsipas winning that match. First Greek player, man or woman, and I think it was Sakari could have done in the WTA side. But yeah, he reaches his first ever Grand Slam final at the fourth time of asking at the semi-finals. Remember, he made the, I want to say, 2019 Australian Open semi, beating Roger along the way. He made last year's French Open semi, and he made this year's French Open semi, Australian Open semi, sorry. So fourth time of asking, he's reached the final. Very emotional after that victory, both on the court and also in his press conference. Now, for me, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't want him to go to the final, and for him, it's like an achievement already. Yes, I've reached the final. I'm not saying that's going to be the case, but let's see if nerves get in his way. It is his first ever final, especially if he were to lead the final. We saw with Musetti, 2 sets to love up against Novak, and then completely lost it from there. If he were to get close to the winning line, how will he behave? How will he act? Will he get nervous? Will he get tight? If it's a long match, will he fatigue first? It's crazy that a 34-year-old Novak Djokovic, he's not young by the way, still is outlasting pretty much everyone, whether they're young, whether they're old. It's crazy. Novak does have a 5-2 head-to-head against Stefanos Tsitsipas, and he has won all three of their clay meetings. That includes the Rome Open earlier this year. It was a very close match, really could have gone either way. Stefanos probably should have won that match, but Novak did win in a close 3-set match. Last year's French Open, Novak won in 5 sets, as I said earlier in the video, and of course in Madrid, I want to say 2019 again. Tsitsipas, I remember, beat Rafa at the semi-final stage, and for him, that was a great victory, winning against Rafa for the first time on clay, and then Novak just won the match in the final. So yeah, I think if I was to predict, I would say Novak in 4. Probably, I think that's the safest bet. I do think Tsitsipas will win a set, but Novak, and I think he deserves it. I honestly do. Beating Rafa at the French Open. Bear in mind, he did do it once before in 2015, and he did not win that tournament. He lost to a one-handed person in the back, one-hand backhand in Stan Wawrinka. Now, I think Stefanos Tsitsipas's backhand is nowhere near as good as Stan's. Stan also had a slam and had beaten Novak at the 2014 Australian Open, so he had that confidence. But let's see what happens here. The only thing for Novak is that mental and physical, side of relief as well, of beating Rafa at the French Open. Could that weigh in? Could he get tight? He's going for number 19. There's so much at stake for Novak here. There's more at stake for Novak than Tsitsipas, even though it's his first slam potentially. So so much on the line here. Tsitsipas, of course, leads the race. Now, I know Novak's not really looking at the world number 1, but it would be huge for him to get that 800 points compared to Tsitsipas. I'm going to talk about that in a video later on, about the world number 1 and the rankings and race, etc. So do stay tuned in for that one. So yeah, that's pretty much the situation going into the final. I think Novak Djokovic has to be the favorite. However, Tsitsipas, he will feel good. If it was Tsitsipas versus Rafa, I definitely would give less chance for Tsitsipas. Because it's Novak, there is still a chance. A weird thing I saw today as well, Rafa seems to lose every 6 years at the French Open. He lost in 2009, and he lost in 2015, and now in 2021. So that's 6 years. So potentially he'll win the next 5 French Opens and then lose in 2027. But funnily enough, the last 2 times it happened, the player that beat him lost in the final. Soderling lost in the final to Roger. Novak lost in the final to Stan. Novak again now. Will he beat Stefanos Tsitsipas to make it 19? Huge match on Sunday, and I absolutely cannot wait for that. So yeah, that was my kind of take on the semis and the final as well. I really cannot wait for that. Massive congratulations to Novak for winning the match. It was just one of the most thrilling matches I have seen, and they've played some amazing matches. That 2018 Wimbledon semi-final comes to mind as well, where he went to that 5-setter. Similar situation for Novak here, so he beat Rafa. Bear in mind, in 2018 when he did win against Rafa, Novak just had 2 years of barren spell, did not win a single slam, was losing against pretty much everybody. So that was huge for him, and he did keep his cool in the final. So potentially that could mean he could keep his cool again in this final. But he did play Kevin Anderson in that final, who had just played a marathon 6+ hours. semi-final himself. So yeah, let's see how things turn out. I hope you enjoyed my little take on it. Honestly, no script whatsoever. Just got into a camera. If you check the video, there'll be no cuts as well because I literally done it in one take. But yeah, that was my raw, let's say, take on the match. I hope you guys enjoyed some of the stats I was able to provide. Stay tuned. I will make a video after the final, talking about the final as well as the permutations and also the live rankings. And literally, we're 2 weeks away from Wimbledon. I just realized that in 4 weeks and 2 days' time, we're going to be here watching the Wimbledon final. So things could get crazy. Crazy. If Novak wins the French Open, he'll definitely be the favorite for Wimbledon. Will Roger have something to say about that? And potentially the world number one could go to Medvedev at Wimbledon as well. So loads to come on this channel. I'm going to wrap it up here. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care. Enjoy the final. And once again, congratulations, Novak Djokovic. You've accomplished one of the hardest tasks in all of sport, not just tennis. You have defeated Rafa Nadal at the French Open. Nice.